The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Straight ahead on this edition of Perspectives, remembering Kobe Bryant and the victims of the tragic helicopter crash. Plus, we're joined by someone who can speak firsthand on how to deal with such a loss and keep things moving. That's next on this edition of Perspectives with yours truly, Daren Jaime.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
Express what's on your mind. What's on your mind?
Let 'em know. Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life.
Make a difference.
What's your perspective?
Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Perspectives. I am Daren Jaime, and of course, we thank you for watching. As you know, you can watch Perspectives every week here on BronxNet's Channel 67. If you have Verizon Files, that would be Channel 33, or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. We encourage you to stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms here on Perspectives. My personal platform, Daren C. Jaime, on Facebook, and all those other platforms that you can be, connected. You share your perspective. You never know, your perspective makes it on the show. We talk about it. It could be a show topic. Stay connected. Well, straight ahead on this edition of Perspectives, we are talking. Many of us are still shocked at the tragic death of Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter Gianna, and 7 others in a helicopter crash over Calabasas, California. Kobe Bryant's death shocked a lot of people. The crash and also the aftermath, grief, loss. Not just a basketball community, a nation. Not just a nation, a world. There's still a lot of questions. We're still trying to piece things together, still trying to deal with our grief and our emotions. And whether you played basketball, whether you didn't play basketball, Kobe Bryant was somebody, an influential figure that actually touched the lives of many. And you can find out how impactful he is in his passing as you start to see the tweets, the Instagram, people all across the nation, from former presidents of the United States to artists to entertainers, to the average person speaking about the life and the impact of Kobe Bryant. Well, we've got 2 very special guests here in the studio to talk about Kobe Bryant's passing, shock, loss, grief, and talk a little sports as well. Micheal Bellamy is a renowned New York-based senior sports producer and anchor, as well as a commentator with over 15 years experience reporting on newsworthy sports events and interviewing renowned sports figures with an articulate and engaging style. A proud 54th annual New York Emmy Award 2011 nominee, he specializes in reporting on the Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, PGA, motorsports, tennis, plus winter sports. He's a seasoned sports-related news editorialist with Eclipse ratings and market share. He's worked at BCAT Sports Talk, ESPN, Black College Sports Today, NBS, and NYCSportsNetwork.com. We also know Micheal to be the first African-American sports anchor of what's BET's network. And then we also are joined by the Reverend David Wright. Pastor Wright is the son of Grammy-nominated performer and the godfather of gospel, Reverend Timothy Wright. The Reverend Timothy Wright died in April of 2009, 9 months after a car crash left him paralyzed and killed his wife and his grandson. Pastor David Wright also knows grief all too well, but he also has great insight on moving on and coping with tragic loss. They both join us here on the set of Perspectives. And gentlemen, good to have you.
Good to be here.
Good to be here, Daren.
Yeah, Mike, it's been a long time.
Thanks for inviting me.
No, that's good. Pastor, welcome.
Yes, sir.
That's it. First time, and it won't be the last, all right?
It's good, it's good to be seen, and it's also good to see you.
That's good to see you, too, as well. Let's get right at it. You know, the news of Kobe Bryant's passing, where were you when you heard?
I was in the house helping out my mother. I had a friend call me. He said, "Hey, man, do you hear about Kobe, Bryant?" I said, "Man, I thought he was kidding." He said, "No, he's dead. He's dead." So I turned on the TV, and there it was, and I just put the phone down, and I was glued to the television ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was actually in church. I had just finished preaching, getting ready to do the benediction. One of my ministers came up to me and said, Kobe Bryant just died in a helicopter. I said, no way. And right then and there, we stopped service and prayed for his family. Right there.
Yeah. And for you, it's something that you know all too well. I'll come back to that in a minute because I want to get. But talk to me about remembering Kobe Bryant first of all. What is your memory?
No, I'll go back to when you interviewed Kobe back during the All-Star game back in '98 or '96 around that time, and it was during the All-Star game, and you just were walking and talking and interviewing with him. You spoke to him for about 5 or 10 minutes, and I remember that. Another memory I have too, a lot of people haven't brought up, was when he played at the Rucker in 2002, and he turned it out.
Yeah.
He turned it out. I mean, Harlem was on fire that particular day, and I'll never forget that. And he's also was a true Renaissance man in a way. He was almost like Paul Robeson, where he spoke several languages. Paul Robeson, I think, spoke over 15 languages, I believe, and I think Kobe spoke at least 5. So that way, his intelligence acumen was off the roof, and he didn't go to college either. But because he lived overseas and
Well-versed.
and he was well versed in languages. So that was the great thing about him.
Yeah, and at that same All-Star game, I was there. I had free tickets to the All-Star game in '98, and Kobe went by and gave all the dudes that was on the side high fives before he go on the practice court. And he was one of the greatest ball players we've ever had. But oddly, when he passed, at the moment he passed, after being retired almost 3-4 years, I didn't think basketball. I thought his family and how great of a father he became. And after going through that tragedy that he went through with the whole Denver thing and how he got his family back together, and now it's going worldwide, girl dad.
Right.
So he was just so much more than a basketball player. Besides just being one of the greatest ball players, he became a great role model for our community as well.
Looking back at the crash, and you seen, the crash site, you got video, media outlets, and that. It hits home for you, of course, because what happened with your parents. Talk to us about that. Was there like this reverb that you felt knowing and seeing what was going on?
Absolutely, because when something like this happens, even if you don't really know the person, it brings back memories of people that you do know that have passed. And when my father and my mom and my nephew tragically passed in that car accident, it kind of brought that stuff back. And when this happened, it kind of made it okay for men to grieve. Because you started seeing men crying. I was like, oh no, don't cry, suck it up. You gotta cry. You gotta let that grief out. And it brought back some memories of my parents passing. And I just felt empathy for the families that were involved, because their lives would never be the same. We loved Kobe from a distance, but they were inside with Kobe. So their lives would never be the same. And I just began to pray for them. And even the other victims, there were some prominent people on that plane.
That's right.
Even the baseball coach, their lives would never be the same.
Out to Bellamy,
And
right.
their lives would never be the same. And we just got to realize that God makes some decisions that we just don't understand. We'll never understand his ways. We never understand it, but some kind of way we got to trust what he does.
Right.
We got to trust what he does.
And so, Mike, talk to me about the contribution. I mean, Kobe made a tremendous contribution. Now, I'll be the first one to say that, I wasn't always the biggest fan, because I always felt like that was Jordan incarnate. I'm a Michael Jordan guy, love Michael Jordan, and I didn't dislike Kobe. I just felt like, when it came to that Kobe versus Jordan comparison, I stood on the side of
Jordan.
Of Jordan,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think we all stood on
Oh,
the side,
yeah, of course,
right?
of course.
But don't tell that to the Kobe people,
Right,
right?
right.
But yet and still, his contribution to basketball and to the NBA.
His intensity, that's one thing I admire about the way he trained. I mean, he got up every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, was training. If he was here in New York, he was up in the morning training somewhere.
Right.
And they said, one guy said, it was one particular game when he was playing against someone, and the person kept hitting him on the wrist. So after that particular game, he had his trainer come out there and hit him on the wrist while he was shooting jumpers. So this way that wouldn't happen again.
Right.
So
Work ethic.
Where?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think about his work ethic?
Well, first thing, I didn't like Kobe neither. I'm a big Knick fan, and he used to
Yeah.
wear us out. And like you come to the Garden and you want to do your best, and he did that.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was always the comparison between him and Jordan. He walked like Jordan, talked like Jordan, tried to shoot like Jordan. So his work ethic was just, it's just crazy. Even after he tore his Achilles, to even go out there and shoot 2 free throws, because anybody has ever had anything like that that injury, you can barely walk.
Right.
And he goes out there and shoot 2 free throws, and then this is later in his career, you rehab and come back. So his work ethic, man, just knowing that nothing's gonna be given to you. You got to work for it. Yeah, you balling, you coming out of high school, you this and you that. But if I don't work, I'm not getting on. Cause Kobe didn't come out of high school starting. He was
Right.
behind Eddie Jones and these boys.
Right.
He had to work up to that, and he just kept working, kept grinding, and he proved a lot of people wrong with that.
Especially that last game, he hit that 61.
Yeah, 61 to went out the door, right?
Yeah.
I remember a story about Allen Iverson tells a story about Kobe when they first were both rookies, and he goes to call. Allen says, "Let's go to dinner." Before comes Allen, they go out to dinner. Then Kobe asks Allen, says, "So what you gonna do, Allen? Where you going?"
Going to the club.
He said, "I'm going to the club." right. And Kobe says,
I'm going to
to
the
the
gym."
gym.
Right.
And ever since then, Allen Iverson said, "I had a new level of respect for Kobe Bryant."
That's one thing,
Hold
John.
on, I'm going to take the break.
Okay,
You get the
okay.
first word when I come back.
Okay.
We'll be right back with more. Taking a quick break. We'll be back in a sec. Back here on Perspectives, our guests Mike Bellamy and Pastor David Wright talking about the tragic death of Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others who lost their life in that deadly helicopter crash over Calabasas, California on a foggy Sunday, and going back and revisiting that. But you were saying
The
something
other
for
thing,
break.
as far as I want to talk also about his passing, I think what hit people so much is that it happened suddenly. It wasn't like he had an illness, he had a long-term illness. You know, like when Muhammad Ali passed,
Right.
we knew, you know, because he had a long-term illness.
Right.
But this came out of nowhere. I
And
think
let's
that's
not forget that just the night before, LeBron James eclipses him on the scoring card,
Correct,
right?
correct.
And so there's this picture, and even Kobe posted 16 hours before, right there, him and LeBron James, you know, are dapping it up, and then 16 hours later, he's gone.
Right, right. So I think that's the thing that's really shocking to people. I mean, we're all going to pass, but it's how we exit. You know, we don't know how we're going to exit.
Right.
So,
And for that-
and the way he left us, that's what's upsetting to people, I think.
Bring me some expertise in that. You know, your father was an icon in gospel music, and your family, you know, considered first family in gospel, right?
Yeah.
However, when this incident occurred, privacy, right? How did you deal with the whole privacy issue? Because we see Vanessa Bryant being very well shielded right now. And how do you respect that privacy line? And how did you deal with the whole privacy situation?
Well, with my family, my father being such a great gospel artist and big in the church community. When he passed and when my mom, when that whole accident happened, there was no privacy. Because if you live your life in the public eye like that, you can't expect privacy when things happen like this. So you have to kind of create your own privacy. You have to, even you know, far off family members. Everybody your cousin now.
Right.
Everybody your uncle now. So you have to kind of create your privacy, kind of just shut down, lock in for a little while until you ready to come out. And you know, they gave Vanessa a couple of days, but sooner or later she had to come out and make a statement. So now, once you come out and make that statement, your privacy is over now. So it's important that we give people that privacy, because it's hard to grieve in public.
Right.
It's hard to grieve when everybody's watching, everybody wants to tug on you, and I went through that. Me and my family went through that.
How long was the process for you?
Well, for me personally, because I had to now take over the church, I had to hurry up and get through it. Because now I got to lead the members through grief. So I had to lead while bleeding. They call it leading while bleeding. And everybody's different. Everybody's different. It took some of my brothers 2-3 years. But me, I had to come on and get through it. And with God's strength, I was able to pull myself on through it and continue to lead this congregation, because I had a further calling to do. So you can't stay in a grieving state. You can't bring people to another level if you're still grieving your own self.
Right.
So I had to help my whole entire church get through that situation.
And when I think about grieving, I think about not just, you know, his family, the immediate family, and the family is important, and they're the first priority, but you got teammates. And in this case, a city that's attacked. You know, tell me the name of your show. Your
Grace Tabernacle.
Grace Tabernacle, but he's also got a Facebook show called
Church
Guys Like
Church
Sports.
Guys Like Sports.
Right. So this is how I dived into him. Like we talked, and we chopped up. But here's the thing. I mean, you think about L.A. He's a Knicks fan. I'm a Knicks fan, right? We ain't have that. We haven't had that. We don't have that guy who was in this. You know, we had Patrick Ewing. We've had Bernard King, but never at the level of a Kobe Bryant.
Correct.
To what a city means. And so talk to me about that, because he was a guy who captured the whole city. We don't have that here in New York.
Right.
And we'll have it for a minute.
Last time we had something like that as far as was baseball with Derek
Derek
Jeter.
Jeter.
Right.
That was it. It's almost like an earthquake happening, man. Imagine when we went through an earthquake. It just shook up the whole city. How do you adjust? How do you rebuild? And it's also, you have to adjust to a new reality. And it's a gradual thing, because, you know, my father died, and I had my brother died. So, you know, after it happens, how do you come back? You know it's not going to be the same again. So you got to adjust to that. So it's a gradual thing when you go through a loss. And I don't tell people, man, be strong. Man, you got to get through it. You got to get through it the best way you know how.
Right.
But to me, it's almost like an earthquake. And what happened, Kobe's death was an earthquake to us, and it shook us, and we're still shaking from it.
Right.
And just to add to that, I see Kobe from Philly, from Italy, all that stuff. When he went to the Lakers, he moved to LA. He's not playing in LA, living somewhere else. He became LA. So that whole area, everybody, he died in LA.
Right.
You know, so that whole city is grieving, and it was amazing that they was even able to play that game against Portland the other night, man.
I was thinking about it. I was saying, you know, Carmelo didn't play that game.
Right.
And, you know, Kyrie Irving took a did not play coach's decision, or, you know, we know he took his decision not to play immediately after. But I think you're talking about something, because you're seeing grown men grieve.
Right.
And also, there's another message out there. It's okay to grieve.
It's okay to grieve.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And also, social media plays a big part in this. If this would have happened back in the 80s or the 70s, we probably would have never, you know, that grieving would not be as seen as much as it is now. So I think social media plays a big part in this.
Yeah. Well, you get to see everything.
Yeah.
You know,
And shame on Damian Lillard for doing what he did. He ought to be ashamed of himself, man. They trying to grieve and look, take this 48 points.
Right. Y'all grieving, but y'all gonna get this 48 tonight. That's
That's what Kobe would do, right?
right, exactly. We can grieve after this. Right now, y'all trying to 48. Listen, take a quick break. We'll be back with both these gentlemen in a minute, right here on Perspective. You gonna get this 48 first. Back here and talking, and in the break we're talking a little bit about the Lakers, right, and what goes on. Let's talk about this for a second. How do you see this playing out? I mean, for me, I think that the Lakers now are immediate contenders for the NBA Finals with all of this in their heart.
I think it's championship or bust because they have to do it. You know, now let's do it for Kobe. Do it for Kobe and LeBron now. He's not behind a Kobe Bryant shadow anymore. He passed him on the scoring list. You know, Kobe said, "Look, it's your show. Take us to the top." And now I just see the Lakers being able to emotionally the emotions take you to another level.
Right.
And it just the momentum is on their side now. They got to roll right to the chip now.
I see it the same way. It's black or it's white. There's no gray area. You have to come or don't come with it at all.
Right.
So they got to win. I think the city, I think the momentum, I think everything's behind them to win the championship. It's just a matter if they get on board. Yeah.
Got Pastor David sitting here. He's going to commiserate with us, right? So let's talk about the Knicks for a second, man. We don't even have a full show right now. But listen, Steve Mills fired, right? A good thing.
A good thing.
A great thing. It's a good day in the neighborhood, right?
Good guy, man, but, you know, just didn't get the job done.
Right. And we need James Dolan gone, too?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Knicks right now? What do you think of it? I mean, we're just watching just regular basketball.
I think we about a year away, man.
Really?
I think we 1 year away because, you know, making little moves like that, it's hard for us to get free agents because, you know, first Dolan. I mean, I wish Dolan would fire himself, but I don't think he's going to do that.
Right.
But making little moves like this, if we get homeboy from Toronto, Masai Ujiri, and he brings some talent, and we'll be in the playoffs next year.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to make it this year.
No, we don't need playoffs. We need a chip. I mean, I think the last thing we ever had was Ewan's finger roll. Do you still feel the pain?
I still feel the
Talk
pain.
about grieving. That's grief right there for every Knicks fan. That finger roll.
73, man. That's all I have to say. That won championship in 73.
73.
I
wasn't
mean,
even born,
that's
man.
right. When a quarter milk was a quarter, you know? I mean,
Right.
So, I don't know.
Do you see Knicks turn the corner?
Not anytime soon. No.
No time
come
soon.
on.
No, man. No, I mean, hey, come on. This was every year. You know, it's supposed to be this, supposed to be that. They hired a new coach. They got rid of him.
Right.
I don't think they want to win. Because they're making money. I mean, they're the top franchise, right?
Yeah, but just because
In the NBA,
but my thing is just because you're making money, you are talking about New Yorkers who really
You know what,
care.
though?
We'll stay home.
The fans have to respond and stay home. If they stay home, he'll make changes. But if you're still packing the Garden every night, no matter what, win or lose, and you got Spike Lee there waving the towel,
We deserve a
you
championship.
know what? You
we
deserve
work
one.
too hard. We ride the train, ride the bus.
How about we cry too hard? How about that too?
You know what? If you stay home, You don't go to the games, you turn off the TV, then he'll respond. But right now, he's a businessman, and he's still making money, man. He's the top franchise in the NBA. Matter of fact, one of the top franchises in pro sports, period.
Yeah, it's a lot to think
So
about.
what's the incentive, man, to win the championship?
No, you're still making the money, and I think, but he's definitely has some challenges, and I think fans will respond.
Hey, Phil Jackson, man, come on.
Yeah, you have.
He's gone. Yeah, he was here.
But you gave him. But when you talk about Phil Jackson, you talk about a guy that you gave. You told me you didn't have to come. You had to show up to work.
He stayed in LA
I
most of the
don't
time.
know who gets $60 million not to show up to work.
Right,
If I get $60 million, I need to show
You
up
got
to
to
work.
be there.
Right.
Phil was on his phone. Yeah, don't play him tonight.
Right.
Play him. Move him out. All right, I'll tell you, I'm going back on the golf course, so I'm going to go back and meditate.
It was crazy. It really is. But I mean, when you think about the Knicks, our hope is that hopefully they can get some more players and do a couple more things. But
We pray so.
We pray so.
I
right?
hope it's built on nothing less.
That's it.
But Brooklyn's where it's at, though, right?
No, Brooklyn is exciting. I think we can talk about that. You know, the Nets real quickly. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. That was the big bust. I think we were expecting that to happen. Weren't we not past it? Look at it. Once again, his heart just dropped. Jeez.
You don't come to New York and not come to the Knicks. You know, Kevin Durant and Kyrie, they had us all fooled. I thought they was coming to the Knicks, but they did come to New York.
And according to my brother Stephen A. at one time, it is a done deal.
Yeah.
They're coming to the Knicks, right?
Yeah, that's what he said.
But then to find out they didn't even interview him.
No.
How does it make you feel as a fan?
Like it's frustrating because you save money to get these guys,
Right.
and then you don't even put in the time because it's a different day in the league now, man. You got to go after these guys. These guys ain't knocking your door down. You got to go after these guys.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? 73, man.
That's all Mike told me for 73. Listen, it's been an honor. Mike Bellamy, we got to do it again.
Yes, sir.
Pastor David Wright.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Glad to be
here on Perspectives. Listen, that about wraps up for this edition of Perspectives. I am Daren Jaime, of course. You can watch us every week here on Bronx's Channel 67, Verizon Files, Channel 33, and anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. For all of us here on the set of the show, be safe, everybody. Be sure to share your perspective. You never know. It just might make a difference in somebody else's life. Take care, and God bless.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.